Hello everybody, I got a new tutorial for you. As I like to show to you today how to make a color on a shirt. It can be a brand new product you're doing, a shirt for your husband or a blouse for yourself, which will be the same kind of color you can put on. Or, as in my case, I like to show you how I have to fix my husband's favorite shirt, jeans shirt. It seems that he's only got that particular one, and that's why the color is totally worn out where the hair from the beard is scratching it. So I will put him a real nice new one on. Here's the explanation. Of course, if you make a brand new one, you do have the pattern that you can cut totally your new parts out of. Otherwise, if you have just to do a preparing like I have to do, take the old color out very carefully, not to destroy the pattern, iron it flat and then cut your new parts out of it. Make sure you add your 1 centimeter seam on the color and the same on the neck piece from the color. Make sure here on the bottom, which goes into the necklace hole, you have 1 centimeter. What many people don't know, on this particular seam where the actual color joins the neck piece color, you should only have a 7 millimeter seam. It's much better lying the color when this is much thinner. If your pattern had already a 1 centimeter cut on, then just cut it afterwards, after you stitched it all together, cut it a little bit thinner. It's much better. So you do need, as you see on here already, 2 color pieces exactly the same size, no widths for the upper color, no, they're the same size. And you need exactly 2 the same pieces, neck pieces. What is very important, don't forget to make yourself a mark in the middle of the colors, the same in the middle where you will join it onto, and you need the marking on both sides where the color will start and where the color will end. And just as important it is that you mark on this bottom layer, again the middle, which is the middle of your back in the shirt, and you need 2 cuts on each side where your shoulder is. And then where your shoulder part is, because that makes it very easy. It's just got lost somewhere, probably from ironing over. There it is. It is enough on a shirt if you put a lining, an ironing on backing facing onto one piece, but I prefer to put it on both. So I got on both of these sides, on the left side, a facing ironed on, the same on the neck part, because the sewing is much easier, mainly as there's a lot of sideways cutting and the material is a little bit stretchy. So if that is on, you can work much better with this. So we're going to sew this together now. Take your 2 color parts and first of all stitch those 3 sides 1 centimeter together. A little tip for any corner you do not go directly around like that. Make a 1/2 stitch across that corner. You will see when you cut the material then off for the corner and turning it, it's much easier and it goes better. Now look right away for your middle point that you have, where they will be together, and look towards the end, put all edges together. Now again, do 1 little stitch across there, and now to your centimeter. Now take your scissors and cut those corners. Now many people I see, they cut the corner like this. That is not enough if you do that, because you have to think all the material that's lying here on the sides has to be folded into this little square inside. That's why it's better to slightly shape the sides off for your cutting like that. You do the same on this side, slightly, because then this bit can easily go into that corner. Now we're turning it around. Do that side first. I take that one, and you can see you can really make a real nice corner when one stitch is like that across. Now you can either go to your ironing board and iron the seam apart, or you just take your scissors and just scratch this seam a little bit flat. It's like ironed, and it makes it easier for the next step, the sewing. Now as you cut both pieces exactly the same, it is your choice, if they're cut the same, which one you like to use for the outside for the shirt. Which one do you want, John? You want more green in, or do you want the purple more? You haven't decided. You want to look at it again? There we go. You want the green part. Okay, then we take that. So, you wetten your fingers a little bit and ribble this out. So if this is going to be my upper color, I can stitch this so it slightly moves over to the left side, which is not seen. Because if you do edge to edge very exact, it always looks as if the underneath one likes to look out a little bit. The stitching on this shirt has been 7 millimeters on the edge. So I do exactly the same on the color, as the old color was stitched the same way as well. You turn there, and as you can see, this is almost correctly already here, exactly as I want to have it. I usually go by the width of my foot, and I see my foot is 5 millimeters, so I have another 2 millimeters standing over on the right side by eye watching, and that gives me the 7 millimeters of stitching seam that I want here. And the third side. And now here I don't even stop here. I continue because I like to close this color part right away. But I do that very small, like 5 millimeters, because this is only holding this color piece together. And I do not want this to show out afterwards. So my right side is stitched here with the upper thread I had was a 70 thickness yarn. On the bottom I got 120 one, which is much thinner, of course. Now we have to add the neck part onto it. You could do this together, but that's not easy if you're not stitching every day. So we do one by one, which most of the people do anyway. We first of all, let me think, put the bottom part on exactly as you got your cuts there I mentioned, where we start with the color. Then you got your middle cut and you got the end cut right there. You see this. So, but to stitch this, it really doesn't matter now if you're going to be on the color or if you would turn it around and stitch on there. But I usually add this stitching on the collar. But now, remember we said on here I only put a 7mm seam on where these two join together. That means I will only make a 7mm seam here as well. I start a little bit and I look right away to my end part and I stitch this 7mm here on the top. And there you see, there's my cut. That's how it will be. Now we take the second piece, put this on the top, but now you will have to stitch on this side. And to make this easier for the next job later on that bottom piece you're lying 1 centimeter over. You turn this around and now here we again have a centimeter seam. You can mark yourself that curve so to make sure you have on each side the same kind of curve. And now you can see your first stitching that you did from this side. Now just try to go like 1 millimeter on the side of it to make sure this seam will not show out afterwards. Here you can see all the cuts that should be together again. Always look a little bit ahead. Then you don't have a surprise at the end of your seam that something doesn't fit. Again here I look on my cuts that they are together. That looks perfect for me. I got my 7mm seam going down a little bit over the seam that I see there. Now I go slowly around my curve, and before I get to the end I have to remember I have to turn this over 1 centimeter underneath. So here are your two sides, the way they're done. Now we have to slightly cut this curve off because there would be too much material inside, and the same on this side. Now you're turning those little rounds over. And the same with that one. Push it through nicely. Now you take your shirt, your new one, or you want to be repaired. And you see, you got the upper lying here now, the outside shirt. And you can see I got my thick thread, my outer color here. Here is the thin thread underneath which lies down, because that's how the color will go in. And that's why we're going to exactly start there. Now whoever did this shirt left this part inside. I don't like this. So I just cut that straight now. Now you have this one relayed in, the centimeter. That's the part you got to stitch on here now, the one that's left over. 1 centimeter seam, and now you must make sure that where your last stitches from this from this seam, you put it exactly on the edge of the shirt right here. These got to join, these two, and you stitch it on 1 centimeter. Just do a little part first before you look at your first cut and your shoulder, which should join exactly there together. And don't try to pull all this straight and make a straight seam. That's not possible. Your neck is lying round this way and your collar has got a slight curve this way. So you only do centimeter by centimeter. Take your time. And that is easier to do this way, as if I would have put pins and pins and pins in. There's so many pins, I only rip my hands open. Rather do stitch by stitch. Take your time. Easy. Slow. Look for the actual cut in that was there, and here's my cut. You see they will join together. Always look a little bit ahead, and then you just do centimeter or inch by inch. Now I'm in the middle of the color there. Again, I'm lying this round like that. I look here for my shoulder. And this looks like a very good cut. The more exact the cutting of your patterns are, the better and easier the sewing will be. You will find that. I know sometimes the cutting takes longer than the actual sewing, but it's worth it. And again here, I got to join this last stitch onto there in a moment. And that, as you can see, looks really easy. Should be no problem to get that in one go. There, I hope you can see this well. I go exactly onto that last stitch that I had there before. Now, this seam has to be folded inside that little neck part there. 1 centimeter. That's why it was nice that we folded this over already. Now it's not very thick, but you could cut a little bit out if you see, God, this seam is pushing me here around. Then just cut a little bit of that corner off. I would have been able to manage it without this on this shirt, but it doesn't harm if you just cut a little bit off. Now, usually when you look at shirts that you bought, you can see, if you look exactly, that the seamstress in the factory started to stitch there to go around. But I give you the hint to rather start on the shoulder, and you see why, especially for the end. So you pull your shirt under your machine. And another reason, you might have thought, why didn't she iron herself this part all the way along 1 centimeter over? Well, I'll tell you why. If I iron this a little bit too far over, and my seam here is maybe a little bit smaller, then when I want to cover this seam, it will not happen. If I didn't have this ironed before, I can always put it in a little bit more or pull it out a little bit more. That's why I like to do it this way. So you have your cut here, you have your seam from the shoulder there. You just approximately put the machine on to hold it, so you can have a look at the end here, at the rest. That looks very good. So I just start sewing there, covering that seam that I see underneath, without stitching back and forth. It's not necessarily, because you will come all the way around and then you just go another 3 stitches over. So you must pull this apart very well. Fold your neck piece a centimeter over. Before you get to the end now, we make a stop and we really very well push everything inside. Of course, if you don't think you can manage like that, then in this particular part you can all the way along put some pins in first. That doesn't harm on this particular one. Again, I slightly wetten my fingers to be able to ribble that out nicely. then here the same. Now I have underneath, I have to pull this apart, and here as well. Now I'm stitching all the way along where the color joins the neck piece. And you can see I'm pulling here and I'm pulling here to get these seams exactly even. Again here I'm looking far ahead in time to my corner. To make sure I get everything correctly tacked in. A little tip I like to give to you: if you have new jeans material, if it's a very hard one, you can actually very easily, either by washing the part first with putting a couple of stones in, which that's why it's called stone washed, surprise, or you can take a little hammer, put something hard underneath and hammer it soft where there's some hard parts. Now you can see top part is finished. Again we have to tack that in and lay our 1 centimeter over to make sure to cover the seam underneath, because it would look ugly if it would look like that something. See? You want to cover that seam. And here I can see my cut, and here's my shoulder. Fits exactly. As I said, all depends on how well you did the cutting. Take your time for the cutting. And now, as I'm almost at the end, you can see, because I've started here, I got no problems at the end with any widths that you might have pushed in while sewing. This lies so flat that it's really fun to do this job. But don't you get an idea you want another shirt doing now, huh? That's the last one. Next one, you gotta buy a new one. Finish the story. And here I stitch a couple of centimeters over. So, that is your finished color. Looks as a new shirt, although it's the old one. We just have to put another push button into the top here. And without any ironing, you can see it's really nice and finished. Now, try to do it. Take your time, as I mentioned before. Do a good cutting, and you will see it comes out and works out perfectly. Thank you for watching. Hope you come around again. Bye.